Thank you to our sponsors for today's video, Ionna, InfyPower, and Eaton. Ionna, North America's premier charging network. With unmatched commitment to elevating the customer experience, Ionna is opening America's roads to all EVs, giving drivers the coverage they need, the reliability they deserve, and the amenities they crave. Also, InfyPower, the largest EV charger module provider with over 3 million power modules running reliably worldwide. Their latest G2 collection features ultra-high power density and efficiency for EV charging and energy storage integration. InfyPower, innovation for your power. And Eaton. Eaton is a one-stop shop for implementing reliable and innovative EV charging infrastructure at your site. Across all applications, Eaton's EV charging infrastructure, hardware, and software gives you the scalability, flexibility, and intelligence you need to charge today and scale up tomorrow. Learn more at eaton.com/EVCI. Hello and welcome to another Out of Spec Reviews video. It is the first perfect day of the year, and I also have something really cool to show you. This is the new 2025 Kia EV6 refresh. All of the eGMP vehicles for 2025 are getting a mid-cycle refresh, and well, here is the Kia EV6. And what I'm going to do in this video is walk you through all of the changes. I'm going to talk about the new charging performance, the new battery pack, the new software, the new styling, new suspension, new noise improvements. So many little things have changed for 2025. And I have to give, as always, a huge shout out to one of our best supporters here on this channel. They always get us cars before anyone else, Fort Collins Kia. These guys rock. As you know, we're based in Fort Collins, Colorado. Our local Kia store has been so cool to let us borrow basically a year's worth of Kias. We've had an EV9 long-range rear drive, then we had an EV6 GT. Now we're borrowing this one, which is the new refresh EV6 GT line. Love Fort Collins Kia, and well, without them, I would not be able to present this video to you. So with that, let's run through all of the changes of the new Kia EV6. Well guys, here it is. This is the new Kia EV6. And first of all, I think it looks absolutely awesome in this nebula blue color. But you guys know I'm not much of a styling guy, so let's just run through that really quick, and then we'll get to the fun technical bits. New headlight situation up here with a new bumper. I think this looks really nice, really technical, kind of a cool vibe. And I have to say that the headlight output is much improved from the last generation EV6. Both myself and Colton had EV6s for a while. Colton still has his. My EV6 GT went back to Fort Collins Kia. It's actually for sale there right now. It's the pre-refresh, but they are blowing that thing out. Under 40 grand for an EV6 GT at our local Fort Collins Kia store. If you want one of those, pick that up. We only put a few thousand miles on it. It's ready to rock and roll, and it's got an extra set of Nokian winter tires on there. So they're blowing that thing out. So hopefully one of the viewers buys that car, because I didn't love it. Maybe you would love it. I just thought, okay, not enough car for 70 grand or whatever it was. For under 40 grand starts to make sense. This isn't cheap either. This is really expensive, but I'm going to talk about some lease deals where this starts to make some sense. I guess styling wise, you have eyes. You can see the new wheels. You can see, okay, the back end's pretty much the same. This is now made in Georgia, West Point, Georgia, alongside the Ioniq 5 for the North American market. What that means is every Kia EV6 that's built from Georgia no longer has a charge port here. If you guys remember in the previous generation EV6, this is where you would open the charge port. No longer. They have moved it to this side of the vehicle over here. It's now on the rear driver's side. I can hit this, opens up, and there's a native NACS port, or J3400 for the nerds out there. It's also had an updated, I believe, gone from 40 to 48 amp onboard charger. I think, did the previous car have a 48 amp onboard charger? Not sure, but Kia assures me that the ICCU, which is sort of the power control unit that handles AC charging, also some low voltage charging situations for the smaller battery, has been completely redone, and you'll have a much more stable electrical experience in this. So many early Hyundai Kia Genesis vehicles would lunch 12 volt batteries, would fry their onboard chargers. that seems to be all fixed as part of this refresh. So I think the stability of the platform has been increased massively. So we have to give them props for that, but we also need to test it. And so hopefully some of our viewers will get the new cars and let us know through the forums, through comments on our videos, how their long-term performance is holding up. Because of the EV6 being built in Georgia for the North American spec, like I mentioned, you have the charge port here. The reason that it's here is because this vehicle supports native access to the Tesla supercharger network now. With the J3400 port, one of the main benefits is unlocking a non-adapter, but just a plug-in charge experience at Tesla superchargers. And having it over here on the rear driver's side means you're not going to take up 2 spots when you arrive at like an older version 3 Tesla supercharging location. What's interesting and a little bit weird, and I have a whole video on our Out of Spec Bits channel about this, is the Ioniq 5 has the charge port still on the rear passenger side. My understanding was that the Ioniq 5 had some major body and white changes that would be required to move the charging port to the driver's side, whereas the EV6 was a bit easier. So what's nice is, at least here, you get the port on this side. Unless you buy a new EV6 GT, which are still built in South Korea, is my understanding, and those will have the charging port on this side, and I don't think it's been confirmed that those vehicles will ship with NACS. Those might ship with CCS. I know it gets confusing, but a huge part of this update for the EV6 has to do with charging and moving ports around from a technical component. Trunk space, luggage space seems relatively unchanged. I will say there does seem to be a bit of an improvement from just noise in the back of the EV6. That was a real problem with our GT and Colton's Wind that he has of the previous gen. There was, sort of a pressure relief flap from inside the rear wheel well back here that would like rattle and tick and make noise. I have not heard that in this particular one. There is some boominess over bumps, but nothing major. Has the tire mobility kit. The one thing that this vehicle doesn't have in it, that I'm not seeing at least, is the factory CCS adapter, but I will talk about that in a little bit here for these charging ports as we get into the new tech, which we may as well do right now. Let me grab some adapters. You guys hang out right there. So one of the things that happened with the 2025 refresh, like I mentioned, is the new port, which means new adapters. So this is going to get a little confusing, isn't it? First of all, let me open this up so I have a platform. Open up charging port as well. First of all, if you already have an existing electric car that's not a Tesla, you probably have this J1772 charging port at home. Well, this is an 80 amp rated J1772 to Tesla J3400 NACS plug that slides right into the port, and then you can use public charging stations. So this is very familiar to Tesla owners. Tesla owners have had to do this type of solution for a long time. This adapter has kind of exposed screws and just doesn't feel that great, but that's okay. As long as it works and as long as it doesn't overheat, you're fine. I would always just check the pins, make sure they're not melting or anything like that. Even the Tesla adapters can melt over time. This is for high power DC charging. Now, most public charging stations still only have CCS adapters on them, except Tesla Supercharging Network. The Tesla Supercharging Network, as long as you go to a station that's open to the Kia vehicles, which this does have plug and charge access and others to superchargers now, you can just plug in the handle. But if you go to a public charging station, you need to use a CCS adapter, except don't use this one. This is the factory Tesla OE CCS to NACS adapter, and it doesn't really feel like it fits all the way, except it does enough. It just feels a little bit sketchy, so like you really have to jam it in there, and it feels like the pins are just touching. However, this adapter is not rated for high voltage. You can see, maybe you can't see, but here it shows voltage range up to 500 volts DC. Well, for those of you who know, one of the benefits of the eGMP platform is this is a high voltage car. You're talking 6, 7, mid 700 volts full charge, somewhere around there. A lot of people will tell you it's 800 volt. Not really. It's just an 800 volt class of car. And so this adapter would be unsafe to use, even though I tried it yesterday and it's fine and nothing blew up, but it's not rated for high voltage use. That is where, this is not an ad, and you don't have to buy this particular one, but this is a long neck adapter, but really for the Cybertruck, that's a 1000 volt CCS adapter, and it feels like it fits in the port a little bit better. So this is from A to Z. I can interface it all the way. There's no issues in terms of clearance with this particular one. And just make sure if you're going to use a third-party adapter that it's safe It's rated for high voltage, and you're good to go. The EV6 will come with its own CCS adapter, and you can use that, and that's totally fine. Just use it with this car. This car doesn't pull that much current through the adapter, and the adapter it comes with is only rated for 350 amps or so. These are 500 amp adapters. They can handle more current for longer. And so the last thing you want to do is take the Kia adapter, put it on like a Chevy Equinox that sits at 500 amps for a while. Bad things can happen. Hopefully there's safety temperature sensors in there. I haven't played around with it, but I do think Kia kind of did everyone a disservice by supplying the crappiest CCS adapter with the new generation. Is that enough nerd charging talk? No, because the reason you would want to use the adapter to charge at a high voltage charging station is Tesla superchargers can only give this car currently 125 kilowatts. That's it, 125. Because what's happening is the supercharger, you plug it into the vehicle, it can't get up to the battery pack voltage. You know, the max a supercharger can do is like 480 volts. This is higher. So the car actually has to take in the power from the supercharger, boost up the voltage, and then charge the battery. And that boosting power comes from the rear inverter and stator on the rear axle, part of the rear motor assembly. And it's limited to 125 kilowatts of conversion rate. Now that's better than the pre-refresh EV6 that could do anywhere between 80 and 100 kilowatts or so. So it's a bit better on the supercharger, but it's still not nearly as fast as if you went to an Electrify America or EVgo station. Thankfully, Electrify America, Ionna, and others are supporting NACS cables on their high voltage capable units, and that's where you'll be able to plug and charge and get full power. We're just in this awkward transition period. Speaking of charging, you've got to charge something, and we have a new battery pack for 2025, 2 new battery packs actually. You get a very low voltage, somewhere around 50, high 50s, low 60 kilowatt hour standard battery. Almost no one will find a car with that. It was incredibly rare to find the first generation EV6 with the tiny battery. They did it just for an entry-level price point, but it's very unusual to find those. This one, along with most every EV6, will have the new 84 kilowatt hour battery pack, which is pretty big, 2 kilowatt hours more than a Tesla Model Y. And that's about usable capacity as well. And it charges really well. It's got a bigger peak up to around 240, although I've seen closer to 260 kilowatts on this battery, so massive peak charging speeds, but it's not as consistent, it's not as flat as a curve as the first generation cars. So I'm pretty sure what they did is they went a little bit down in cobalt, they gave it a higher peak, but to me it feels more temperature sensitive to the charging experience. Thankfully, you do have on-route battery preconditioning with a manual preconditioning option now, so you can make sure whenever you get to a high-power charging station, you're arriving at the optimal temperature. That was always a huge problem with these cars. It took a couple software updates in the previous generation to get higher preconditioning, or just to get any preconditioning after launch. Now you get a manual preconditioning button if you need to or want to use it. You won't need to do that for home charging or even low power DC charging, but if you want to rip when you get to a charging station in the winter time, well, you'll have the manual preconditioning button to do it. So this new battery pack should give this vehicle just over 300 miles of range, like low 300s. I think it's going to be somewhere around there on the highway. Should be interesting to find out. I'm going to do a highway range test on our testing channel at some point, and overall the specs just seem pretty great. I mean, this is still one of the best charging cars on the market. Instead of 18 minutes, 10 to 80, it's somewhere in that low 20-minute range. So it does feel like they went backwards a little bit from the robustness of charging, but I still think it's more than acceptable and blows away pretty much all of its competition from a charging perspective. So you have to give Hyundai Kia props for absolutely making their cars rip from a charging perspective. The main problem with the new car is, of course, the price on MSRP. The one you're looking at here is $61,000. That's insane money. You're just a couple grand less than a GT at that point. And we all know how well the secondary market values hold up for these types of vehicles, which we have found there is no floor. They will just tank to the bottom. So I highly recommend you do not buy the new Kia EV6 because of depreciation. I highly recommend that you lease one, because you can lease a brand new Kia EV6 of the new generation for $250 a month with taxes and fees out of pocket at Fort Collins Kia. $250 a month versus losing $40,000 of depreciation. I know which one I would rather choose. And so, you know, that's for Colorado incentives only, and that's not on a GT line, just clarifying. But, you know, even this car would be in that mid $300 a month range with taxes and fees out of pocket on a standard 2-year, 10,000 mile per year lease or something like that. That's an insane deal. They just lease out great. Do not buy these things. You will lose your ass on the depreciation. There's no way around it. Highly recommend leasing pretty much any new electric car if you're in the market for one. Let's pop the frunk. Let's see what's going on up here, because I have not really looked. See what's going on with the new generation. We'll get into some other changes, the new software inside and some other stuff as well. Nice hood release right here. And we do have pretty much the same size front trunk. I wonder if the rear drive gets a bigger one. And this is interesting. Yeah, the vehicle to load, again, used to be CCS vehicle to load. This is the first ever NACS V2L charging gun I've seen, basically. So you have your J3400 port on this side. Amazing that they got this out already. And then your NEMA 515 outlet, which you can mount either way to come out. So you can basically pull loads out of the charging port. And I love that this comes included, and it's a super cool feature of these cars that almost no one uses. If you own an eGMP vehicle, or even, you know, like Genesis GV70 or G80 electric or one of those, if you have a situation like this, do you use it? Because I find I use the built-in ports that are in my Cybertruck so much more than when I had my EV6 or even 9 for that matter with a situation like this. I'd much rather them just put some plugs in the back and then I don't have to think about carrying this thing around. Let me know what your preference is. Either way, pretty cool that they have a NACS version of this adapter. So, and that comes included with the vehicle. For 61 grand, it really should. Closing it. Now, this is a fully spec'd vehicle. Let me show you inside of it. Basically, rear seat room, front seat room, nothing has changed here. This is all pretty much the same. If you look, actually, if you can come back here and look at the back seat, I can show you guys. It's all fairly unchanged. You have the B-pillar air vents, which is great to have. You've got, you know, USB-C ports in the back of the seats. Pretty much no change from the back seat from what I can tell. Everything is the same. This one is equipped with the Meridian sound system, and it sounds better than my EV6 GT with the Meridian sound system of the previous generation. So perhaps they did some improvements there. I'd need to spend a little bit more time with it, but I was always super disappointed with Kia sound systems. Now they're kind of getting a little bit better. If you look up here in the front of the car, you'll see a brand new steering wheel for 2025. Absolutely amazing. They needed to do this steering wheel. The last steering wheel was so ugly. Really, really like this. Also, it's now attached to a power steering column, and they've even redone some of the power steering mechanism, and it has a little bit more natural steering feel, just feels a bit better. I still have issues with my seating position in this car. Like, I can't get totally comfortable with it, but overall, very impressed with the visual change of the steering wheel, and it just needs to come out farther and be less angled like a bus. It just needs to be more up and down, upright on the steering wheel. Let's jump inside. I want to show you CCNC, which is the new software. So if you can jump around to the other side, we'll fire this bad boy up and I can show you some of the changes in here. So the door handles pop out still on the top trim. Everything is pretty much unchanged here from a center console experience. We have, you know, sort of our climate control system, which we're going to rip on right now. We've got cooled seats, which is wonderful. And you can see here the power steering adjust in action. So this new software is called CCNC, and it's basically what Kia EV9 has had. It's had, you know, a bunch of the new vehicles ship with this. The previous generation didn't. This also supports phone as a key with NFC, so they're kind of catching up to where EV9 was. EV6 was just out of phase in terms of getting the hardware update. This also supports over-the-air software updates, which Kia has proven they will update the vehicle over the air. It has much better route planning now, so you can actually choose your arrival percentage to a charging station versus the end destination. It's awesome to have actually some usable route planning in this vehicle now, and there's just been so many new updates, including wireless CarPlay and wireless Android. You used to have to hardwire before, now it can all be done wirelessly, and that's still a good thing because this system, while it is updated and new, still sucks. It's terrible compared to the competition, compared to Tesla and Rivian sitting right over there. This system sucks. It's laggy, super laggy whenever I use it. Just logging in to get into stuff was annoying. Yes, you have YouTube, still no dog mode in this vehicle. You have to use utility mode in order to leave it on for dog mode, but there is some nice stuff, thank you, where you can get to your manual preconditioning, you can see the usage of everything. And so there's some cool features in here, don't get me wrong. I like the depth that you can go with certain menus and looking at data, which is really wonderful. However, it's just an annoying system, and the fact that it beeps every time you touch it as default just tells me everything I need to know, which is that's annoying. And you can turn that off. It's just 90 menus deep in order to get over there. There's a wireless phone charger. Pretty much all of this is the same, but the new software supporting wireless CarPlay will be a much welcome addition for many people. This stupid dual purpose screen where you can switch between climate or basic functions drives me still through the roof insane, because I'm not sure if I'm at the first glance going to adjust climate control or going to adjust volume. And I just never know which one I'm going to get. So I've always got to look down, select the one I want, and I'm good to go. If you push and hold on this little top tip for those Kia EV6 people, you can choose which one you want it to retain. So typically I would just have it always on climate control, and then I do the volume here on the steering wheel. To me, that makes the most sense. Let me know what you guys think, but you can change the default screen. So after a period of time, it will always revert to this particular one here. Yeah, head-up display seems to be maybe even a little bit better, a little bit sharper. Driver assistance has had some improvements as well. If you're no longer paying attention while driving, you know, the driver takeover, it no longer just shuts off steering and you go off the road. It will actually come to a stop in the lane with an emergency takeover procedure. So there's much better safety built in here. But then other issues like it doesn't remember to go into iPedal every time I start it. You've got to pull the left paddle to get into one pedal driving. When you go into reverse, it doesn't do one pedal driving either. And when you go back to drive, it doesn't retain one pedal drive. I've then also got to pull iPedal again to get my one pedal driving. So many little things here are just, you know, seem like this is a combustion-based platform, even though it's a battery electric car from the ground up with some electric features built in. The biggest giveaway is the start button. Now, a lot of the old people watching this video will say, hey, Kyle, I love having a start button in my car. I don't want it to turn on when I open the door every time. Sorry, that's dumb. It's 2025. No start buttons should exist. It's a war on start buttons from my side. It should just get on, put it in drive and go. If Volkswagen can do that with the ID4, Kia should be able to do that with these cars. That's my view. It's not a deal breaker, of course. It's easy to hit a button and get it into drive, but little things like you can't go from drive to reverse without pushing the brake pedal. And with one pedal drive, it's a little bit odd because, for example, I've come here to a stop in one pedal drive. I want to go reverse. Actually, now I'm in neutral. Won't move. I've got to jam the brake pedal, hit reverse, and then go. And I know to a lot of people, this seems really silly and stupid, but to all of us here at Out of Spec, when we're driving these Korean vehicles, it drives us insane that we can't just go drive reverse. You know, every other vehicle with one pedal driving just lets you choose this without having to jam on the brake pedal. And it gets a little bit confusing. So while some of the updates here are really nice, they did miss on some of the EV updates and the usability stuff that I was really hoping to see. For me, the biggest miss of the new 2025 EV6 is the software and infotainment package. This screen is far too small compared to the competition. It's going to be hard for people with limited eyesight to see this. It should be much closer to me, much larger, and we should really just get with the times and put a big screen in here with fantastic software. And you know what? They're working on it because Hyundai and Kia have already demonstrated their next generation software. There was a teaser that popped up online somewhere that looks just like Tesla, like they copied Tesla infotainment or any Chinese car brand out there. And it's like, yeah, that works. Let's do it. Why does this car not have that in the software update? Or excuse me, in the refresh? That this should have launched with all of those features. So with that said, let's jump back outside. I'm going to tell you just a little driving differences between suspension and noise. We don't need to necessarily take it for a drive because it's not all that different. But let's jump outside and I'll tell you a little bit more. Well guys, in terms of the driving experience, not much has changed, and that's a good thing because the EV6 always drove pretty well and it was incredibly balanced and fun. Now, most people are not ripping these things around, but I have seen a few enthusiast EV6 owners out there, specifically the GT trim, that get out, enjoy the balance of the platform, and really do get up on these things. And while yes, it still has retained its larger power on the rear axle with the rear permanent magnet silicon carbide inverter on the front. This is silicon, or on the inverter there, it's just silicon on the front axle. And it is, you know, I love that it's a rear bias system. It's got the balance, it's got the overall chassis tuning that's amazing. They have softened it up. And I think that's probably a good thing for most EV6 buyers. The bumps are now much smoother on impact. I'm pretty sure they've gone to a frequency response damper where it changes the output based off the input frequency through a check valve. And Tesla did this with the Model 3, Lexus did this with the RZ. It's a fantastic, a new type of damper system. And I think they did a really nice job tuning this car for comfort. And that's what it is all about, of course. This needs to be a nice daily driver, commuter, and road tripper with that charging performance now. And I think they really nailed it with this. The next thing they did an okay job on is the noise. What's interesting is you do start to get road noise around 40, 45 miles an hour. And I thought that was a little bit unacceptable in the new car. I was getting a bunch coming up, you know, through the front dash, just tire noise coming in, you know, from this area as I was sitting in the driver's seat. But what's funny is it never increased with speed. I could do 90, 100 miles an hour allegedly in this car, and it sounds the same as if I'm going 50. Yeah, a little bit of wind noise coming from up here, but it was a windy day when I did some testing. Overall, it is quieter than the previous car, and I was not so impressed with it around town with noise, but very impressed on the highway. And you pair that with pretty good lane centering, not the best, but it just stays in the middle of the lane with highway drive assist 2, does lane changes when you hit the turn signal, does kind of everything you need it to do. It's actually going to be a fantastic road tripping car. Now with the extra boosting power and native access through the port to the Tesla supercharger network, if you're not in a rush at charging stops, that's clearly going to be the choice. Tesla tends to have great amenities and plenty of available charging stalls, but if you need a quick top up and you're looking for the highest performance, use one of the CCS adapters, get to an EA station, get to a new Ionna station, whatever it might be, and zap this thing up at, you know, well over 240 kilowatts of charging power, as long as the car is preconditioned and ready to rock and roll. So that is the new Kia EV6. It is refined from a noise and comfort standpoint. It finally has phone as a key and other nice software features. It supports native NACS with built in America with native NACS with the charging port on the correct side to interface with the Tesla supercharger network. The styling has been changed. The price is astronomical, but lease it only lease this car. Do not buy it. And really the only other downside is, okay, the software, even though it has been updated, it still kind of sucks in my opinion. And same with seating position and stuff. I did a video with my buddy Bob from the Electric Principle channel that's on our Out of Spec Bits channel, I believe the same day this video is going up, where we compared the new Ioniq 5 to the new EV6. Me personally, I would go Ioniq 5 all day long, but sometimes the EV6s lease out better, and for most people, that should be just fine. So there you guys have it. That is my quick and dirty download of the new Kia EV6. And I think they did a great job with many things, but clearly still lacking with some of the user experience and sort of workflow of getting into the car and getting it moving. I think it's crazy how this has a start button. I know so many of you guys are shaking your head at that, but it's 2025. Let's get with the times. So thanks for watching. Thanks to Fort Collins Kia for letting me steal this. We have a bunch of testing to do, 10% challenges, charging tests, range tests, all with the new car. That will all come as soon as possible, and we'll see you on another one again soon. Bye-bye.